Hey, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be talking about audio visual. Now, in my opinion, the audio visual of an event is one of the most important aspects of the event experience. The AV that you choose to go with sets the tone for your event and also establishes the energy that is going to be flowing throughout your event. It really is exciting the different environments you can create simply with just AV alone. Now, one thing I want to talk about before I dive in is audio visual does not have to be these big elaborate screens and this big elaborate stage or these super tall banners or the super loud music and lasers flashing. Audio visual is quite literally how it reads. It's the audio, the sounds, the sensory that's going on at your event, and the visual, the things that your attendees are seeing. Now, oftentimes the AV is a big stage with a lot of cool designs and really tall banners and loud music and lights and lasers and smoke and all that, but it can really be a lot more simple. I've thrown events where I spent $150,000 on my audio visual, and I've thrown events where I've spent $8,000 on my audio visual. And in my opinion, they were both great experiences. So as I talk about all this, don't get it in your mind that you have to do something big and grand for it to be a good experience for your attendees. It's your job as the event planner and the experience designer to make it a good experience for your attendees regardless of the budget. All right, with that being said, let's dive in. When you are deciding on what audio visual you want at your event, it's really important that you decide what you want the energy and the essence of your event to be. For example, for one of the big events that I throw every year, Fund Launch Live, we sat down at the first Fund Launch Live table and we decided that we wanted to create a hybrid between a music festival and a financial conference. We wanted all the value and the high quality individuals in the room that from a financial conference, but we also wanted the lasers, the music, the cool sounds, the immersive environment, the excitement and the energy of a music festival, and we meshed those two together. And it has made our event so unique. Most people that come and attend this event tell us it is the coolest business or entrepreneur or financial conference they've ever attended in their entire life. So just as we decided that we wanted our event to have the energy and essence of a music festival combined with a financial conference, you need to do the same for your event. How do you want it to feel? How do you want your attendee to experience your event? What kind of environment do you want it to be? Make these decisions before you decide on the AV. The next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you find an audio visual team to work with that you really vibe with. You want one that is willing to plan and get creative with you and hear you out and not just stick to how they've done it for every single event, because every single event is not copy and paste. Now, this is all my personal preference. Some people would go out and tell you to go and work with a company that has done thousands and thousands of events and does the exact same thing for every single show. Maybe that works for your event. But for me, when I was deciding what partner I wanted to work with somebody that was down to get creative, down to create something unique, and down to have a relationship where we can work together and we can both hear each other out. I want to go back all the way to the beginning of my career in the events industry when I was deciding on which audiovisual company I wanted to work with. I knew that I wanted to work with a company that I was going to have a long relationship with, and I didn't want it just to be a one-off experience every time I was throwing an event. Additionally, like I just said, I wanted it to be a company that was willing to get creative and willing to create something unique and was willing to actually work with me and my team to create the event that we wanted and to execute on our vision. After interviewing dozens and dozens of audiovisual companies, I narrowed it down to two companies. One was this big, massive company all the way across the country who was very established. They worked with Disney, they worked with Target, they worked with the NFL, they worked with all of these big brands, and they definitely had an impressive track record. And then there was this other company that was really small. They were local. They had done quite a bit of events in the local circuit. They'd done some concerts, they had done some conferences, but their track record compared to the bigger company was incomparable. And now most of my partners were telling me to go with the big company that had the proven track record that worked with all these big brands. And yes, on paper, maybe that did make sense. However, my intuition and my gut feeling told me to work with the smaller local company because I really enjoyed their team. The founder of their company was an amazing guy, and I knew that he was a hard worker and he was willing to come into our office and work whenever we wanted to dive into our vision and to ensure that he created exactly what we wanted. While this other big company had the big impressive screens and had all the money, but they wanted complete control over the creative direction of the event, which I didn't like. So I ended up going with the smaller company, and this was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life. We have worked with this company for every single one of our events. They have done all of our audio visual, and we have been extremely pleased with everything. And for every single event, the founder will actually come in and we'll sit down and we'll do a creative session and we'll map out how we want the event to look. And he'll create mock-ups, he'll send it back, we'll change it, and he will hone in on the vision and the essence that we want to have at our event. And on top of that, since we have such a good relationship, he has done so much for us outside of audiovisual. He has helped us actually plan the event. He has helped us get speakers. And we really do have a great working relationship and also a great friendship. I'd say this audiovisual partnership is the best business decision I've made in my entire career. So I'd highly recommend working with an audiovisual company that you can have a really good relationship with, because that has been my experience and it has been really enjoyable. All right, when you are deciding on the audiovisual for your event, there are 3 different routes you can take. The first is to use your own audiovisual equipment. Now, this will only work if you already own your own audiovisual equipment, or you want to go out and you want to acquire your own audiovisual equipment. Now, I do not do this for my events. I always work with my audiovisual partner, just because we don't have the budget yet to go out and buy all of this equipment to use for our events. But maybe you do have that budget, and although it is expensive up front, it's probably going to make sense in the long run if you know that you're going to be doing events for a long time. The next option is to partner with an audiovisual company, and this is what I've done. I believe this allows you to get creative, work with individuals that really know what they're doing, negotiate on pricing, and also not give yourself too much exposure. And then the final option is to use the audio visual of the venues that you're going to be throwing your event at. And I'd highly recommend against this, because the audio visual equipment and staff and everything else that goes along with it is going to be extremely expensive. And also, I found that it's really not that high quality. However, it's important to read the fine print on the contracts that you're signing with these venues, because sometimes you have to use the audio visual equipment and team that the venue provides. That's why I say always make sure you are completely aware of what you're signing a contract for, and always have a legal team review your contracts. Now that I've covered the 3 different routes you can take when creating audio visual for your company, I'm now going to walk you through the process that I go through for each event when determining what kind of audiovisual I want. So step number 1 is to find an audiovisual partner. Now, I've done this. I found an audiovisual partner that I'm working with every single event, so I get to skip this step now. However, if this is your first time, the first thing you should do is to go out and you should find an audiovisual partner, or explore the other routes. Make that decision that you want to use the AV that's provided by the venue you're going to work with, or go out and acquire your own audiovisual equipment. Whatever it is, make sure you take care of that in step 1. Step 2 is to have a creative session. Now, this is what I was talking about when the founder of the company I work with will come in, and we will spend an hour or 2 just diving into the vision for the event, and we'll cover everything that we want. If we want lasers, we'll talk about that. If we want smoke machines, we'll talk about that. If we want 2 screens on each side with a stage in the middle, we'll talk about that. If we want the screens to be ground supported, we want them to be mounted, we'll talk about that. This meeting is where we will talk about everything that we want for the audiovisual for our event. And it's extremely important that you get all of this out so that the team that you're working with can create a quote with you that is realistic and accurate for your event, that will also capture your vision. All right, step number 3, my audiovisual partner will then go and create 3 to 5 mock-ups of different audiovisual setups, and then he'll come and he'll present them to me, and we'll decide on our favorite one. Now, this is probably my favorite part of this process, because it's so fun to look at all the different mock-ups and see what my partner came up with, and to really see on paper for the first time what the event is going to look like. Then step number 4, once I have decided on the mock-up that I want, and I've decided on what I want the audiovisual to look like for my event, my audiovisual partner will send me over a quote. We'll review the quote together. I'll typically have another partner of mine review the quote as well to make sure we're not missing anything. And then we'll begin paying the audiovisual partner. I'd highly recommend that you split up the payments when you are paying for audiovisual. That just works best for our company, and I think it reduces your liability. For me, it makes no sense to go and pay $150,000 up front when you could pay 3 payments of $50,000. It just doesn't hurt as bad, even though it's the same amount of money. And then after that, my audiovisual partner will take care of the rest. He'll acquire all the equipment that he needs for the mock-up that we decided to use. He'll ship all the equipment to the location of our event. They'll do the setup, they'll do the takedown, and they'll even run the show as the event is going on. And it is so nice not having to worry about that, and to have a partner that I can trust to execute on all of the audiovisual at my event. I couldn't even imagine if I had to worry about that as the event was going on. The last thing I want to mention is that as you plan more and more events, make sure that you build out an audiovisual checklist that has all of the cameras, all of the equipment, and all the people and everything else that you need for your audiovisual setups. There's been a few events in the past where I just wasn't aware of a piece of equipment that I thought was already included in the equipment that my partner was going to bring, but it wasn't. And we had to go through the entire event without that piece of equipment. So if this is your first time throwing an event and you haven't really worked with audiovisual before, maybe consult some other people in the space to see what kind of equipment you need, or just really over communicate to your audiovisual partner what you want your event to look like so that they will bring all the necessary equipment. All right, that's all I have for you in this video. If you have any questions, please drop a comment down below, and I will see you in the next video.